This one's wife. Check in on the elderly. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As the fires burn in Los Angeles, this one's wife's narcissism naturally leads her to utilize the tragedy for her own purposes. This resulted in a statement being made on Sussex.com, which I referred to in greater detail in a separate video. One particular aspect of that statement was this paragraph. Under the subheading Open Your Home, this one's wife and Harry urged, if a friend, loved one, or pet has to evacuate, and you are able to offer them a safe haven in your home, please do so. Now, pausing there. Who are this one's wife and Prince Harry? They're just two people. Yes, they are famous. Are they talented? No. Are they particularly pleasant people? Absolutely not. But notice that this one's wife, and it'll be driven by her because of her narcissism, believes that she's some kind of spiritual authority, some moral arbiter that suggests that people will listen to her. This, again, demonstrates the short-sightedness of this one's wife, who fails to realise that most people would have this response to any form of advice that she proffers: fuck you. People don't want to hear from her. They don't want to hear from her principally because they don't like her as a consequence of the way that she has behaved, but also because people think to themselves, I beg your pardon, who are you to tell me what to do? You have crawled your way, the gold digger that you are, into a position of fame and wealth, and then you sit there telling me what I ought to be doing, that I should be offering a safe haven. I can perfectly well discern for myself whether I wish to do that or not without you telling me what I should be doing. The sanctimonious nature of this woman is overwhelming. She doesn't do this from a position of moral authority, because many people look upon the way that she lives her life and think she is amoral. Furthermore, what expertise has she got? Is she somebody that regularly operates in disaster relief? No, she's not. Is she a member of the emergency services? No, she's not. Yes, it's well-intentioned, but as you all know, it's coming from a narcissist and therefore it's self-serving. Not only does she fail to understand how unpopular she is, but she also fails to recognise how information such as this just comes across as sanctimonious and patronising. But it doesn't end there. The paragraph continues by stating, and be sure to check in with any disabled or elderly neighbours to see if they need help evacuating. You can picture her, can't you, if she had a microphone with that vocal fry, that breathiness, as she attempts to look sincere, as your ears decide to try and close themselves as a consequence of the onslaught of hypocrisy. This is a woman telling people that they ought to go and check in on their disabled or elderly neighbours. But this is coming from a woman that made the last months of the life of Queen Elizabeth II more difficult than they ought to be with her behaviour. There would be some that would go so far as to suggest that she engaged in elder abuse. How is that being empathic towards somebody that is of the elderly? That whilst Prince Philip lay dying in hospital and then returned home to ultimately pass away, she took it on herself to engage in her pack of lies that was the Oprah interview. How's that for checking on the elderly? And, of course, we must not forget her father. Thomas Markle Sr., who she has not bothered with in years. She sits there, sanctimonious nature flowing from her, telling you that you ought to check in on the disabled or elderly neighbours, as she attempts to create this image of being this caring, compassionate individual. And yet she does so when she doesn't give a rat's ass about her own father. She doesn't give a rat's ass about anybody. She ought to care for her family, both her father and the extended in-laws, but she doesn't, because she has no emotional empathy. But yet again, the nature of her narcissism is that it operates in the moment, so that it essentially, if it had a voice, would say this: "Oh, there are some fires. Here's an excellent opportunity for this narcissist to draw some fuel and manage her facade by issuing a statement and demonstrating just how much she cares. People will react and think, that's very good of you. Thank you for thinking of others. You are showing up and doing good. So let's get her to issue a statement through one of her platforms for the purposes of pursuing the prime aims." What her narcissism doesn't have regard to is another voice that would point out, you do realise that doing that seems sanctimonious and patronising and hypocritical because she hasn't bothered looking in on her father for years. The narcissism hasn't any regard for that. It doesn't even consider that. Her type of narcissism doesn't think to itself, right, we're going to compel her to do this. Are there any repercussions from it? It doesn't follow. Instead, all it does is focus on, we need the prime aims. We need the prime aims. We need the prime aims. How can we best do it? Collateral consequences, doesn't think about them. And so once again, this one's wife, in the pursuit of the prime aims, tells everybody, oh, check in on disabled or elderly neighbours. What will people's response to that be? Go fuck yourself. Who do you think you are to tell me to check on people when you can't even be asked to check about your own father, who's unwell and you haven't bothered with him in years, and that the way that you behave towards the late Duke of Edinburgh, the late Queen, go fuck yourself, you hypocrite. But this is why this one's wife keeps trying and keep failing, because her narcissism only operates in the moment and demonstrates once again what a rampant hypocrite she is, which provides me with the opportunity of highlighting this and explaining to you why she does it. Furthermore, she doesn't learn from these experiences. You might think that she would start to realise, hang on a second, I've got a few weak spots here, so I need to be mindful about what I say and do so that people can't call me a hypocrite. That doesn't even enter her mind. Furthermore, I've been caught out in the past, haven't I? So I need to watch out for that again. No, it doesn't register with her. It doesn't register with her because her narcissism doesn't see that there's any need to do that, because its default setting is she's never accountable. The default setting is no sense of guilt, no conscience. Therefore, doesn't need to learn from lessons. This is why you find so many politicians, many of which are narcissists, are repeatedly hypocritical, because they do what's best for them without due regard for what they've done in the past that shows that they're to be a hypocrite. And this one's wife is no different. So she tells people, check in on the elderly, and you think, the audacity of this woman to suggest this when she hasn't bothered with her own father. But as you know, that's how she rolls, driven by her narcissism. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.